Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into Morgan Housel's The Psychology of Money. This is a book that honestly really shifted how I think about financial success.
Hmm.
It's less about the complex charts or, market predictions,
Right.
and much more about us, our behaviors, our beliefs around money, often the irrational stuff.
Yeah. And what's really compelling, I think, is how it explores why people with pretty much the same income can have such wildly different outcomes financially. It really
Exactly.
challenges that old idea that success is purely about being smart or knowing the market inside out.
Yeah.
Makes you think about your own biases, doesn't it?
Totally. Okay, so let's dig into some key ideas. The first one that really grabbed me was this: wealth is what you don't see.
Ah,
We
yes.
we see the flashy car, the big house, and think that's wealth. How does Housel kind of flip that?
Well, he basically argues that real wealth is almost always hidden, that fancy car. That just means money was spent.
Right.
Exactly. True wealth, the kind that gives you options, security, freedom.
Mm.
That's your savings, your investments, things you don't necessarily show off.
Mm-hmm.
It's really the opposite of that visible consumption we often mistake for being rich, which is, often just income being turned into stuff.
That idea of invisible wealth, it feels so countercultural today, doesn't it? Everything's about showing off.
It really is.
Which actually leads nicely into House's next point. Doing well with money isn't strongly linked to intelligence. My first reaction was, hang on, surely you need to be smart to invest well.
Yeah, that's a common thought.
So what's he getting at? What's this something else?
He's not saying smarts don't matter at all, but that behavior, that trumps raw intelligence by a long shot.
Okay.
The book really hammers home that financial success over the long haul is less about complex calculations
Yeah.
and more about, well, your temperament.
Temperament, like patience.
Patience, definitely.
Yeah.
Consistency, discipline, and maybe most importantly, avoiding those big mistakes driven by greed or panic when the market gets choppy.
Ah, okay. Resisting the urge to react.
Precisely. It's that quiet, steady approach that builds wealth, not necessarily a genius IQ.
Instead, he brings us to compounding. Compounding is magic, he says, but only works with time. We all hear about compounding, but it feels like he really emphasizes the time part. We want results now, right?
We do. And what's really kind of mind-blowing here isn't just the concept, but how powerful consistency is over decades.
Right.
He uses the Warren Buffett example. Something like 99% of his massive fortune was earned after he turned 50.
Wow. After 50.
Yeah. It just perfectly illustrates that the earlier you start, and crucially, the longer you let it work without messing with it, the bigger the eventual payoff. It's almost boringly simple in a way.
No quick fixes then.
No magic bullets, just
Mhm.
time and consistency.
Okay, there's this other lesson that sounds like a bit of a paradox. Save like a pessimist, invest like an optimist. How do you even balance those two?
Yeah, it sounds contradictory, doesn't it? But it's about building resilience while still aiming high. So the pessimistic saving means you prepare for things going wrong. You build that emergency fund, that buffer, because life will throw curveballs. Plan for the worst, basically.
Makes sense.
But you don't let that fear stop you from growing your wealth. The optimistic investing part is about having faith in long-term progress, believing that despite dips and recessions, the overall direction is up.
So you prepare for rain, but still plant seeds.
That's a great way to put it. Exactly. It's managing risk while still taking calculated chances for growth.
And finally, this ties it all together, I think. You don't need extreme measures, just consistency. Success isn't about some huge dramatic win.
No, not usually. Housel really boils it down to making reasonably good decisions, not necessarily perfect ones, and just repeating them over and over for years.
Small steps, big impact over time.
That's the core message. It's the accumulation of those steady, unspectacular actions. It makes building wealth feel less intimidating, maybe. More about managing yourself than mastering complex finance.
So, thinking about all this, what's the takeaway for you listening? This deep dive really highlights that maybe understanding your own psychology around money is more vital than understanding intricate market analysis.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can get your mindset right, Housel suggests you're basically halfway to financial freedom.
Right.
Which really raises a question for you to think about. What's one single, consistent financial habit, could be small, that you could start, or maybe just improve on, starting today? Something that could move you towards building that invisible wealth we talked about.